All right, so I'm actually going to give two separate small talks. One is not actually vendor related or anything like that. It's actually some stuff that, in talking to a couple of you guys last night, I realized needed to be said about how you interact with people and stuff like that. Randa is going to be bored to tears, and I apologize. But as far as everyone else goes, it's actually a few things. So, Team Phoenicia is a Google Lunar X Prize team. We are not now, ever, going to be competing in the Nanosat Launcher Challenge. We have no desire to compete in the Nanosat Launcher Challenge. We've told multiple teams, hey, do you want to team up? We said, no, not just no, but frankly, hell no. There's too much paperwork to get involved. AC, Sumantro, all the rest of you, Rick, and where did he go? Adrian go?
I'm here.
Oh, there you are. Okay, you moved. Everyone involved in this, you guys are taking on a Herculean job of just working through the FAA. This is not an inky-dinky thing to do. It's left-hand thread. I'll explain that in a bit. So we were originally asked to join other groups have asked us to do this with them, and some have actually backed off now, but said, hey, do you want to do the Nanosat Launcher Challenge? You know rockets. And we said, no, because this is too much to do. We have a giant project we're trying to participate in. We're trying to land stuff on the moon. And we have so many things we need to do in terms of just paperwork that I'm swamped past capacity as it is. Going and building an orbital launcher is beyond my capability, in the business side of things. My technical guys, whether it's Steve or James who's not here, or etc., more than capable. These guys will be able to can bend metal, lathe whatever, program anything, and we can have a capable side. The problem is we do not have the necessary business or rather regulatory side to deal with it. We have enough to do just to become a hosted payload that is a serious and significant problem for us. On the other hand, my guys can do stuff. We do need money for our particular endeavor. So, in speaking to them, we can swap our time and effort and our connections into sponsors and things like that to produce you goods that you need in order to complete your projects. We do prefer, because if we have a production line design and things like that, to go through and do repeatable ones. Because if we can bang out 50 engines of the same design, it'll be far cheaper because we know we have all the tooling, we have all of the engineering done, and analyses done ahead of time. If you want us to go out and do a custom bit of work, it's going to be insanely expensive. If you want to, however, if it's something straight up that's meant for a certain specific purpose, that's what we can do. So, some examples of the service we're providing. And we're going to pass this around. As Steve said, you drop it, you buy it. It's a 150-pound thrust engine using graphite. This is the thrust chamber and nozzle. The injector plate and manifold associated with it, it's right here. This is not meant to be a flight engine. This is meant to be a training engine. You fire on the ground, you learn how to test it, you learn what's involved, and you guys get to, those of you who have not yet fired rocket engines, learn how to use it. Rocket engine testing is not a trivial thing, even for little Whistler type engines. You need to learn how to respect your propellants and your oxidizers and everything else quite a bit. So, my machinist guys are, James especially is just amazing, and the programmers who do stuff with us are outstanding. So this team, in order to help us bring in cash, which is very hard to pick up, guys, this is one of the things I'm going to tell you about with the second talk, we are what do you call it?
Starving?
Yeah, we're not quite starving, but it's very, very tight.
You can see our luxurious accommodations.
Yes, exactly.
Well, this is some luxurious accommodations. You could live here if you wanted to.
So
that's what our rodent friends do.
Yeah, we've got a few rodent friends actually, yes. But other examples of what my team's done. This is for some of the. We can go anything from as small as the engines and things like that we're doing, all the way up to tanks, pressure tanks. These go up to this is 1/4 inch spun aluminum with the baffles and everything installed. They've been pressure tested up through 600 psi without any problems, without bursting. We need to actually figure out what the burst pressure is, but we know it can go past 700 without bursting. So our intended pressure is 600. So this is half of a hemisphere that was done on the mill. It's intended to be a very high pressure helium
I've seen it
sphere.
before.
Normal operating pressure is way, way less than what this thing can handle. This is just another example of the machining capability of what we can do. This is intended to be a gimbal for actually that 550-pound engine. This is a little bit sloppy because it's more a display unit than the actual final result. Again,
450 or 500?
550. So, and this is a 550-pound thrust chamber and nozzle again, done by my machinist crew.
I have a quick question.
Sure.
What is the ISP on the 550?
I'll look it up for you. I don't have it off the top of my head. I'm sorry. It's RP1 and LOX.
And what's the mixture ratio?
And it's about 2 to 1.
2 to 1. Okay.
It's a little bit less than that, just a touch. But
And chamber pressure?
peak is about 400.
147.
I want to be careful. I mean, it's approximately. I mean, I'm the manager, and I need to think that, and you know,
Oh, is this some kind of graphite?
it's a graphite. We did it on the lathe. We did a fantastic amount of work and learned how to do that. I do not recommend going out and doing it yourself if you can help it. You will destroy your tooling left, right, up, and down.
We have a
And
vacuum cleaner on here.
that's among other things we work at. We do dust traps and everything else, so we don't destroy the lathes themselves. So we have even gone as far as with VOG rockets, we're building them rockets, and to full rocket vehicles. So the first step, as soon as Carrie is ready, we will have and we're done with our welder. We will be, he will be set to start programming and testing his own. But this is not we'll go, if you want to know, I can spend time discussing it, exactly what we can deliver and everything else for you. But the point is that we have an extensive amount of things we can provide as a service to you. We have even more advanced things we will discuss under NDA. We're actually quite good at it. We've delivered 2 full 150-pound engines to clients so far. We have 3 teams we're working with specifically to do the what Carrie is doing, and some of there are more larger rockets to follow after that. But we're not really a rocket company, and something that we're providing a service to get things done. Okay. With that said, though, if you want to do something, we're more than happy to work out a deal. I mean, and in the end, it is not going as a for-profit thing. This is going to our Google Lunar X Prize, our technology development for our, etc. It's not salaries. It's not anything else. It's actually helping put something on the moon. So, not only are you building yourself a rocket, you're getting aerospace equipment. You're actually helping a team get up there. So, okay, that's my general spiel. Now, the specific thing I wanted to talk about that is not something that seems to be addressed. Even I missed a lot of their talk. So, and that is how you deal with sponsors. Okay, I'm actually picked up a fair number at this point, and I've done well over 200 presentations for this, and it is not something that you can automatically say. For example, I do, at this point, maybe 20 to 1, maybe probably a little bit better than that. For every presentation I do, every 20 presentations I do, I pick up a sponsor, or thereabouts. So I've got some advice about this because I think that some of the teams here really need to hear it because you're just getting started. Or you haven't, AC, this is probably bore you to death to do, but I'm sorry. But in terms of what you need to do in order to get them, one is you identify the components you need you will not be able to pay for. Okay? You cannot afford them. You cannot, this is something you do not know how you can possibly raise the money for this unless you come across a Beale or a Allen or a James Cameron or whoever type thing. Unless you happen to reel in someone who has a lot of money, you're not going to be able to find this, to be able to afford this, okay? And when it comes to orbital rockets, there's going to be a whole lot of that, okay? Well and above what most people can do. Now, Randa and AC, you guys have successfully brought up businesses in order to do this sort of thing, so it's a little bit, you have a different perspective on some of this. But these guys are attempting to do as just pure teams and then transform into the businesses later. So they have a slightly different experience. My suggestion is that once you've done this, pick out about 6 different vendors who do this. Pick the one you like the least and talk to them first. And you are not gonna get them. I almost guarantee it. But what you do as part of that, when they tell you no, is you ask them why. What didn't we do right? And sometimes maybe we just don't want, we're not interested in in sponsoring, okay? We didn't hear anything that made us want to be your sponsor. Okay, there's no tie-in, there's no buy-in in any way, shape, or form. And the key here is that sponsorships are actually business transactions, okay? You think, so people say, well, it's just because they think it's cool. It's not. It's because they're going to get something out of it. It may be as simple as saying you're going to put their logo on there. Unlikely it is, though. All right? You have to be able to say that you are providing them something, incentivizing something, or they're nurturing something that will have a much larger payoff in the long run. Not just advertising. All right? Advertising is good, but it's very, very rare that will buy companies these days, especially in something that is as hard to get the message out as what we have. All right? Google Lunar X Prize. You know what? Having people say, I'm going to put your logo on the thing that's going to the moon. There's a percentage of people, a very small percentage of people that will think that's awesome and do it. The majority of them will sit there and say, I bet you 20 to 1, 100 to 1, $1,000, you'll never make it there. You will never be on the moon, and therefore my logo will never be on the moon. Okay? So, and it's the skepticism. So what you do is you say, for example, this is my classic one, when I went to Airgas, and I said, I want you to sponsor us, give us all the liquid oxygen, helium, pressurants, liquid nitrogen, whatever we need as far as what you have in your inventory to make it possible for us to get to our testing done and everything else. And why would you want to do that? I mean, that's we've pitched them and they've agreed to about $500,000 worth and possibly as much as another $2 million worth list price. Okay, keep in mind, producing liquid oxygen is much cheaper per gallon than what they sell it at. Okay, because they got to pay salaries and things like that, etc. And I said, if we do this, though, we are not just going out and building and going to the moon. We're building a rocket company. In fact, we're going to help other rocket companies in Northern California get started. If this actually takes place, then we're going to, and we're successful at least in testing and things like that, getting people, the Silicon Valley area excited about aerospace, there will be a lot of rocket companies up here in Northern California. And they will need liquid oxygen. They will need helium. We're helping you produce a market for your good. And this, after a very terrible meal and everything else and stuff like that, and a very sweating thinking, I did not get it. They gave me a call back and said, how much do you need? We'll do it. So the point here was that we are convincing people that we have something or can do something for them that is not just simply putting the logo on the side of the tank. Okay? You guys, when you go out and do this, need to figure out what it is you're doing for them. Okay? That is the way that they will donate to what you're doing, and then you will get what you want.
Is that a common question? How much do you need? Or what do you need?
What do you need? And
tell them?
what I tell them, and I tell them is that I research them ahead of time, find out what they have, and I tell them exactly, based on what I need from my rockets, my rovers, my whatever, I tell them exactly the parts list. If you ask for cash, you're going to be turned away. Almost universally. You ask for a part, you ask for a good that's completed, or a liquid, or whatever, they will give it to you. And the reason is for us, because Team Phoenicia is a non-profit, they can write it off at list price. Okay, not at what it actually costs them to make. Okay, this is a big deal, and this is really hard to get people to understand. Is that you're giving them a tax write-off? They're writing off $500,000 worth of propellants and liquids and things like that. That really, in reality, a $25 they can charge for a single gallon of liquid oxygen is really costing them like a penny to make. Okay, so they get a big offset. We get to we get what we need. They get a potential large market that's going to come later. I mean, that's what I'm hoping we will be able to do with Sean and crew, is to help others get started. So the idea here is when you approach someone, tell them what they're going to get out of it. Tell them not just the simple logo, okay, but everything that the whole of what you're trying to do for them, okay? For example, in those of you in Florida, you can say, look, there's going to be a ton of rocket scientists that are not going to have, they're going to be out looking for work. Some of them, a good chunk of them, are probably going to try to start something. Okay? I can help by doing this and showing this, and by doing stuff for other teams and other companies and stuff like that. I can produce more companies that can, from these other people who are all looking for work, to that will end up buying your product, for example. Okay? But when it comes to actually doing this, though, you're going to have to do this over and over and over and over. And I did 20 to 1, 15, 20 to 1.
And over?
What's, how many of you, like, total have you pitched?
And over?
And over. I think we're up to, you know what, I'm
2,000-3,000
No.
3,000 what?
companies that you pitched?
No, I'm actually I'm around
200-300.
200-300, somewhere between there.
That you pitched?
I pitched.
How about like called up?
Called up, that includes call-ups, calls, is the
Really?
whole, yeah,
300.
call up 300 or so. But a lot of times you spend quite a while talking to people on the phone. Okay, that's the first step. Don't send an email. Whatever you do, do not send an email. It shows like you're lazy, frankly, because you can produce a form email that. I am William Baird. My name's William Baird. I'm the team leader of Team Phoenicia. We are a Google Lunar X Prize team. Blah 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 blah. Okay, it shows no effort on your part, and for them, it looks like another spam mail. Okay, don't do it. Make a phone call, and what you want to do, even once you've researched the company, this is actually important. Okay, do not ask for the presidents and things of the company, okay? You're not going to get them. You'll show you off to a voicemail box. They will show you off to a secretary who will, or a personal assistant who will very politely say, yes, we'll get back to you. And you will never hear from them again, okay? What you do is you call up and you say, I would like to speak to the marketing department, please. And once you talk to the marketing department, you say, who would I speak to about sponsorships? Well, we don't really do sponsorships. And you say, well, is there someone who handles advertising? And things like that. And you work your way through it. And you want to find a specific person. If you end up a voicemail box, find out that person's phone number, call back again immediately, get that person's phone number directly, and then you can repeatedly call. Don't leave messages, okay? Because you do, they'll sit there and think you're stalking. Because frankly, you probably are. Not literally, but you know what I mean.
In the good side, stalking in the good way.
In a good way. So once you do that, and you talk to the, you're going to get through. And what your actual point of this is not just simply talking over the phone. There are a percentage of them you will get them to commit over the phone if it's relatively small amounts of money. What you want to do is get the in-person meeting. Okay? If you've made it through, you're probably going to have about 4 of them. 4 to 1, you'll get the in-person maybe even if you're lucky, 2 to 1. So half of them will just tell you, I'm sorry, go away. There's no one that does this, we don't do this, go away, we don't want to talk to you. And if you can get one in through the door, you're much more, as long as you practice your presentation skills and you show that you're serious and you show you have, that you're really passionate about this and you tie it to them, you will make a lot of progress. You'll get a fairly high, still abysmal hit rate, but you will actually start garnering the sponsors. Okay. Again, do not ask for money. They will not give it to you. All right. There are chances to raise money. This is not the way to do it. Okay. What you do is you find someone like the Wades, like the stuff like that, who are like a Kickstarter project. Now, Kickstarter is getting more difficult for tech people to use. They're actually screening out tech because there's not very few of them are successful these days. But you need, and when you, we'll get to that in a bit. Once you go through and you've talked to these people and stuff like that, you follow up, always, okay? You try to reach out to them again, you find out, you say, hi, I just wanted to follow up, I wanted to say thank you, I want to follow up with what you guys are thinking, I mean, things like that. Do not make a pest of yourself, but keep them, you're reminding them you exist. If you follow up and get something and then you disappear, like, yeah, we think you're going to do it. And then you disappear, wait for them to get back to you 3 months later. You're going to call back again wondering what happened. And they're going to sit there and tell you, frankly, you went away. We have other priorities now. We're busy. Things have changed. Okay? So, what you follow through is really, really important. This is a business deal you're doing, guys, not just simply a gifting. Okay? So, lastly, as I said, you have to do it over and over again. I'm going to return back to what I started to say in the beginning. Pick out the people you want, the companies you want, but make a list based on what your needs are, the things you can't get. But also, make a list of the things you can get, but it will help you practice what you're doing. Okay? When you go out and do this, you're going to repeat it multiple times. And by the time, I got insanely lucky right off the bat. I got Wind River. Okay, I thought this was the way it was all going to go, and I thought this is a piece of cake. I'm going to walk out there. I'm going to walk back. I'm going to have everything I need to win the Lunar Lander Challenge in 3 months. I went out and did that. I got like one other sponsor for like 9 months. It almost broke me in that sense. It was really depressing. It was working up the energy in order to go and face the phone call, the rejection, the whole 9 yards. I mean, it got rough. It got really rough. And sometimes the sponsorships are not, they give you everything, they'll give you a part of it. We'll give you a discount, we'll do this, we'll do that for you. It's not always what you want, but sometimes strategic people that you get are really important. Okay? And this is a little bit scuzzy, and maybe I shouldn't in front of the camera, but sometimes you can actually leverage it. When you pick up a sponsorship, that's like they give you a 20% discount. You can go to the competitor and say, you know what, this guy's want to give me a sponsorship. 20% off. I need the whole thing. I can't afford even 20%, but you will get one up on your competitor. Okay, this is you gotta be. It is. It's all, yeah. But you got to do all this stuff. I learned the hard way. I thought I could go up and just say, look, I'm awesome. My guys are awesome. We can win this. Yeah, you know how many times I succeeded? Out of literally hundreds at that point. I got a lot better at it. And the way I got better was I ended up talking to someone who's actually, he's not here today, but he ended up screwing my head on. He said, you're asking me to trust you with my money. You have nothing here that I see I can trust. You're a nice guy, Will, but I cannot understand what you're doing. I don't see how this gets me what I want. Even if it's a lasting thing. How are you going to get rid of, whatever you do, get rid of trust me in there. Okay? In your presentations. Trust me goes away. You have to show progress. You have to show, even before you go and hit the bigger guys, show you've made some progress and doing something. PowerPoint engineers, PowerPoint rangers as I call them, are the absolute bane of what we do. There are tons of people online who come up and make spiffy graphics, 3D imageries, and stuff like that, and they never get anywhere. Space is full of people who, space endeavors are full of people who are dreamers and don't put in the sweat equity. That is how you get what you need. Okay? And this is something that I've written a little bit about. This is something I've obviously learned how to do at least somewhat. I mean, I still get dry spells, don't get me wrong. And then there are big spells where and then you will get jerked around, don't get me wrong. You will end up having people who say, yes, we're going to support you, yes, we're going to do it. Give us the list of what you need. Here's the list, we're going to start shipping on this date, and nothing arrives. You call them up and find out what happened. Something's up, we'll get back to you. Call them up again. We had a sensor company that we got, it was going to be a coup. Because we're going to have cryosensors, we're going to have all of this, all of that. And their engineers were calling me up, verifying all the specs, verifying all we needed, etc. And then when it came down to it, we got crickets. And I'm like, okay. And I followed up, and they said, hang on, we're sorting something out. And then I got a nice little polite form email saying, we are sorry, but we are no longer interested in this opportunity. And that was after about 3 months of working with them. So you will have frustrating moments. You will have your moments you want to reach through the phone and throttle people. Okay? It is a perfectly normal thing. You can't let it show. Okay?
I have a question.
Sure.
What about I'm sure there's a lot of legal NDAs, all that stuff. Do you guys write anything yourselves, or do you usually...
We use some pretty boilerplate NDAs, generic ones. We tailor them a little bit, what state, what everything else, etc. But in all honesty, if you're presenting your important IP to these people, you're doing it wrong. Okay? You should not be sharing. You can say yes. You should be generic level, your public level stuff. You should not be giving away your secret sauce, is what we call it. Okay.
Okay, and what about like contracts? Like, do any of these companies make you guys sign anything?
Most part, no.
Really?
They're very interested in. Here we go. Once they understand what the deal is, because they don't want to have, because we've had at least one group that they had to change the deal. Okay. We made an agreement. We started doing stuff, and then their business situation changed. They were no longer as profitable. They were having issues. They didn't want to give up the sponsorship, but on the other hand, they can no longer support us at the same level. So people are very much. You need to be flexible, and when the the deal doesn't work for you, you need to walk away,
So
politely. Okay, because you don't want to burn that bridge. You say, look, I can't afford to do this anymore. I can't work with you anymore. But you say, I'm sorry, if we can come back again in the future and things will work again, I'm happy to have you back.
So a lot of these are more like verbal agreements.
They are generally verbal agreements.
Understood.
Okay? And it's tough. I mean, getting people to agree to anything is tough. I mean, look at how tough it is to get. You guys were arguing with Sam and Larry and Percy here about stuff. So, but identify what you need. Okay? That is the key. Make a list. And then you go shopping. Pick the people who you like least first. Go and do your practice first with them. Okay? If you get it from them, fine. Most likely you probably won't. And as you make sure you get feedback from each one why they didn't want to do it. Tailor your message based on that. Learn, guys. School didn't, just because you're out of university or out of high school or whatever, you never stop learning how to interact with people and stuff. Okay? And in the end, you will end up doing far better than you think you will. Team Phoenicia has garnered a total of promised and some delivered. And because we still have some things they'll require you to have benchmarks to meet and before they'll release some stuff. Okay, it's verbal and whatnot. They'll still require the stuff from Wind River. We have to demonstrate a whole bunch of stuff before they'll let us have the computers we really want. They're really expensive to get. They'll actually survive all the way to the moon's surface. okay? But we have to demonstrate that we're actually going to make it to that point, okay? Before they're willing to put that up. They've promised it, they're likely to do it, because they love us, actually. They've got actually a whole fan club, so to speak, inside them. But we truly have to go down and, what do you call it? You have to be flexible about stuff. Remember, you are a beggar, all right? But whether you like it or not, you are asking people for something they have and you really need, okay? If you go in and say, no, you should be giving it to me, you know how fast you're gonna get escorted out the door? And sometimes, you realize partway through that it's not what you really needed after all, okay? Courteous, and just like what I've said before about dealing with the FAA and with the various regulatory people, these people they have what you want. You need to be polite and go hat in hand, okay?
So in terms of, I'm just curious about the Wind River case to the
Yeah.
point where they've even got a fan club. Have they been down here to see stuff?
They have not come down yet. Part of the problem is the fan club's somewhat dispersed
Oh, okay, so you got people from
all
San
over,
Diego
because
and
Wind
everywhere
River's a
in the world.
big company.
Yeah, their main
Um,
office is Alameda.
Yes, it
Right,
is,
but-
and that's where I went and did my pitches there.
Okay, but they got a distributed fan.
They're very distributed, because a lot of the space guys are often embedded in various projects for vendors and whatnot,
Mm.
helping them along, as analysts, as programmers, as specialists and whatever. So, Mike Dellerman is our biggest fan,
Mhm.
and he's one of the guys who actually helped pitch on from the other side once we got him on board. He did some of the RTOS coding for the MERS and whatnot. So the Mars rovers. So, in the end, guys, it's perfectly possible to do. You can get virtually everything you need. You just got to climb a pretty big hill to get there, and you have to practice. And you have to absolutely keep trying. One guy from the LLC came and asked me, so how are you able to get so many sponsors? Because I had like 4 at that point or something like that, and after my second year doing it. He said, how are you able to do it? And I said, oh, just keep doing it. And I asked him up, so he said, I've tried. He said, well, how many times did you present? 5 times? I said, it's not enough. It doesn't matter. If you've only identified one vendor who does what you need, you're not doing your job. There's a lot of work that goes into every single presentation. Probably about a week. Okay? All right, questions? AC's board, I knew it.
Very sound advice.
Yes, good.
Thank you.
Very good.
All right.